with Splyce.
Thank you very much. Quick shot, a win here for Samsung Galaxy over Splyce to kick off their Worlds tournament. They'll be happy with that one. And they talked about playing around the mid lane for Samsung Galaxy. That's what I want to hit immediately. The victor there for Crown, putting up great numbers, and the team playing very well around that mid lane.
Well, right from the get-go, it's going to be hard for Splyce to be able to play around mid lane because they gave up the Rek'Sai in exchange for a no-pressure jungler in the early game in the likes of Graves. Graves has basically no impact onto the lanes as opposed to just pushing and be able to dive later on. But for helping mid lane, when you have Rek'Sai Victor, I mean, that's such a powerful matchup, and it was really impressive to see Senkas be able to move around, even regardless of that, especially picking up some kills and some botch dives by Samsung.
You have to wonder a little bit about the scouting report of Samsung coming in, because obviously they firmed very late on Wraith over Core JJ. Wraith was best at Nami during the regular season, especially at the start of the season. His mechanics and their champion were there for all to see. Great Nami play here. The double kill, bloodthirsty support, love you, Doa. But the other side of things is the Victor, leaving the Victor up. It's very predictable what you're going to see. It's why KT had to ban it, and did a really good job on the Victor, as expected.
And I feel this is where Splyce fell prey to like the internal scrim meta, because they went in with a plan. They knew they were handing over Rek'Sai because they wanted the Cassiopeia in return because their last ban was Syndra. So they said in their minds, if we get the Cassiopeia, there's no good matchup here that makes it worth it for the enemy team, and that's a good trade. But then they actually didn't keep in mind that Crown is just one of the best Victor players in the world, if not the best one altogether. And then the Nami point ties into that too. You know, like the relative value of some of these power picks is just so much higher on Samsung.
I was going to say, you have to keep in mind that it is Crown playing the Victor.
Yes.
Against another team might be a different story, but against Samsung, it is this. Now, I want to jump back to your point. You talked about jungle pathing, especially around that mid lane, making it very difficult for Trashy, for example, to get some pressure into lanes. And that's where I want to call up our first replay here. Cross-map kills for Samsung Galaxy. A nice dive in the top lane, followed by a kills picked up in the bot lane.
They've been harassing Wonder for about a minute now, and they finally are able to dismount him here with this final little Prey Seeker. But unfortunately, it's already too late. There's no help on him on this side, and he's going to be able to die. And unfortunately, Trashy's not going to be able to do anything. He's just a little bit too late. Had he reacted a little bit sooner, this could have actually turned into something.
And then here we see Mickey kind of overextending too much. This is one of those phases where if you walk up to Mickey after the game, you ask Mickey, were you trolling? He goes like, yes. Because this is just, it's just stupid and dumb to overextend. I don't know what the point of this play was. Beautifully chased though by Samsung Galaxy bot lane. Rafe is really good at knowing when to flash bubble. When he knows the enemy no longer has flash, either he gets hit by the bubble or he jukes into you and dies. But both those plays there were just misplays. Because if you look at the top exchange, that was a second Prey Seeker in a row. I would almost argue that it's worth flashing the second Prey Seeker to preserve the dismount, because the dismount effect is an invulnerability. For like a frame or two, you just dodge any damage taken. During a tower dive, that's much more valuable than just flashing into lane. And I definitely kept my eyes on Graves there too. Like Trashy actually turned around at one point and then went back to top. So communication is falling apart for Splyce, and individually they're misplaying too.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You know, the fact that summoner spell, just keeping that invulnerability would have allowed Trashy the extra second or two he may have needed to get there and help him out. I want to push us ahead to our next replay, which is brought to you by Acer and comes in the mid game. Here we're going to see a nice execution of the Kled along with Tom Kench making the cross map plays, getting into the fight for Splyce here.
It all starts with some nice little jukes from Cuve, but unfortunately Cassiopeia's DPS is just going to be way too much, and the entire team is just following behind.
But he's buying a lot of time, though, Cuve. That's obviously what he was trying to do there. He swapped flash for flash. That part was fine, but the Tom Kench rotation really helps out here, and things start off really strong for Splyce, all things considered.
Yeah, it looked good when that Victor connected, but then this play right here, you know, where the Kled goes in, crowd is going wild for this replay. Sadly, that's not for the replay because fan favorites TSMs are walking on stage. But in this entire exchange, there are two key players here. Senkux is playing this fight above expectations, and Ruler is playing it underneath.
He won that 1v1 against the Jinx before that fight, forcing her to completely retreat out of the battle.
But watch Ruler here. He hits the first Q, then he misses one. Just watch the Q. Unfortunately, Ruler is just not putting out damage. You got the counter coming.
4.
Prepper. Don't know if that's sponsored by Acer, but regardless.
5 miscues by Acer right there. And 6. Oh, it's actually really
I mean, this is a situation, though, where Samsung's actually going to get a couple kills back here off of the re-engage from Splyce. Could have been a bigger advantage to Splyce, but for me, what this replay really shows is what a Kled, along with a Tom Kench composition, is capable of, because we saw Samsung out-rotating to the top lane. They were going to get there first, but no, Splyce, with the composition they built, were able to respond in kind and cover that distance fast.
Oh god, that
devour was
sick. That was that was nice.
I mean, this game was a lot about the what-ifs. We saw what the Kled could do, but it was from behind, specifically with bot lane surprisingly behind. If bot lane went even, that Kled shows up even a little bit of CS behind,
Yeah.
I think it could have been very different.
No, just this composition from Splyce. If you're even, you can send in the Kled, and then you can kind of wear through the damage and the counter engage. But the problem is, if you fall behind against Victor and Rumble, two of their key strengths, or those two champions' strengths, is just stopping you from walking in. Like, you're going to walk into an Equalizer, Laser, and Victor ulti? No, and the Kled just couldn't do too much. Risky composition, slightly misplayed by Splyce, but honestly, very clean by Samsung.
Crown picking up player of the game here on that Victor. We already hit on it a little bit, but one more time just around the horn here. I mean, Crown on this champion, Victor, is not something you can give away lightly. If you're going to do it, you have to get a lot in return for it.
And the crazy thing about it is that this is not a contested pick in Worlds at all. In fact, Victor has kind of phased out of the meta as time has gone by, and we barely kind of expected. We're like, oh, he's a pretty good pick. You can run him here and there. But now we see a guy being able to play this nerf champion into such a powerful position that maybe teams will have to rethink how they see this pick and maybe practice it a little bit more for the coming days.
I mean, the story has been Nami today. Nami's been the big pick that's come up in priority, and just to slot in Wraith, a fantastic Nami player.
Yep.
It's a really nice time for Samsung.
Yep, and 1,000 DPM there for that Victor.
Incredibly high.
Great way to start the tournament for Crown in the mid lane. All right, well, we're backing to base for 3.5 minutes, but stay tuned because the final match of the day between TSM and Royal Never Give Up is coming up next.
TSM.
Yeah? Shout at me.
What?
Shout at me. Shout.
Oh my god. What can I shout?
Shout something.
Shout. Go Nash, go Nash! Okay, we can do Nash. Is that fine?
Nicky's in so much trouble. Grey Health has been popped. Decent flame chompers, but Ruler just arcane shifts forward. Flash for flash. Oh, got him! Kobe's down!
I can kill Nami. Victor's on me. I'm moving. Okay. Final. Okay, nice. Good job.
Is locked up, and the Super Mega Death Rocket takes down Ambition. A flash forward. Senkex has got the poison damage, and he's ruling Ruler. Cuvée goes golden, roasts Senkex, turns him into a pair of shoes. A new challenger appears. Kobe's looking for more. Flash away. Mickey saves Kobe.
나봐줘. 나. 클레드부터. 탕캔즈 먹고 이거 잡고. 나이스.
Samsung Galaxy pick up their first win of Worlds 2016.
Dare.